Who in the world cannot hum?
Oh yeah, I can hum.
Do, 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 do. Yeah, we need show intro music.
We do. Why don't you sing, Steve? I think you've got a good singing voice.
No, no, no.
No?
Be that Barry White voice. No, that would not be good. All right, 5 seconds. Everybody nobody's on, fortunately, not listening to us chatter. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, welcome to Conversations with Asha and Steve. I am Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is my amazing co-host, Dr. Asha Prasad. Asha, how are you doing today?
Good, Steve. How are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. It's been a great week. I know you've had some stress going on, but you're here and in a good mood and excited, and that's positive, right?
That's good. You just got to look at the bright side of things.
I mean, what else are you gonna look at, right?
Yeah, I know. I mean, like
Well, before we kick off into today's topic, which we're talking about finding your business dance partners, and this actually was something that was put forward by a listener. We've started to get more and more participation from our audience, and that's super great. I mean, I'm excited about these conversations when they happen. But I have gotten some tremendous feedback about the
okay.
show. People have been telling me how much they're enjoying our energy and our enthusiasm, and how we are sort of making people's days when we're popping up. We keep
Okay.
them like guessing because we keep popping up on different days, different times. It's like, hey, what? I mean, you know, we don't want to be predictable apparently, but people are seeming to dig that, which is kind of cool. But we are back on Friday today for the first time in
In a
probably what seems
while.
like forever.
I
but
know.
the feedback has been tremendous. People really like what we're talking about, and have been enjoying these conversations. And we're picking up, whole new audiences because we're now
Yeah.
live streaming to multiple platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and of course the YouTube, right? So we're
Yes.
broadcasting to our YouTube channels. So I'm pretty excited about that for sure. But what are you hearing about our show? And as we come to the end of the year, I mean, I know we're excited for the next season, but I mean, have you heard positive things about what we've been talking about here on what is this? Our season 3? This is
This
season
is
3,
season
right?
3.
Crazy.
Exactly. You know what, Steve? I've been hearing a lot of great feedback, and I've gotten some people that have given me like questions and topics that they want us to cover in the new year. And one of the things, one of our listeners that I actually know personally as well, he was telling me, he said, I like the fact that you guys are talking about different aspects of business and really about the individual, not just always just all business and just, but also like personally what's going on with somebody and how working on that can help. So yeah. And I've been noticing too, we're getting a lot of listeners from different places. And this is just such a great way to be able to share our experiences, our
Yeah.
knowledge, and with some humor, of course, from here and there, especially with Steve on here. You cannot have humor without him.
Hey, are you making fun of my face? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand.
No, no, not at all, Steve.
Life's too short not to laugh and enjoy what we're doing, right? I mean, at the end
I
of the
know.
day,
I mean, you know what? I think, being too serious, that's just overrated. Like, seriously, like we are kids at heart, right? Like all of us. And I think that if you get like, it was funny because I was speaking to a client of mine who lives in a different part, warmer, more tropical area of the world.
yeah.
Um, and she took her team literally to like the beach where there was a sandbox,
Uh-huh.
gave them all like little buckets and shovels to just go play. Like they were all like, because a few of the members of her team were quite serious, and she's like, I know that they have it in them to get like, let their hair down and stuff. And so they went, and she sent me pictures of it, and it was fantastic. I was laughing. I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
you could
awesome.
see these like they were like, big adults but little kids playing and building sandcastles, and yeah. Anyway,
Well, I mean, you've been to my 8-minute Ripple events that I
yes,
did pre-COVID, right? And one of the
yes,
things that I always try to do, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's networking for non-networking people, right? Trying to put together an event
right.
where you didn't feel like you had to come with that elevator pitch and do all that crap
Mhm.
that everybody seems to hate at networking events. And so, we do that by seeding our ponds with great questions that are fun to ask, fun to answer, but when people
Mhm.
show up, they get a drink and, they're kind of milling about, we are so cultured to,
Yeah.
have that stupid question like, so what do you do? And that's the
What do
whole
you do?
defeats the whole purpose, right? So we had to do
Exactly.
something. So it's like, hey, grab a drink. Here's some paper and here's a creative exercise and here's some crayons. And it
Exactly.
was really funny to see how people participated. Those that didn't know what it was or like would come, they're like, somebody told me about this thing, and now you're like giving me crayons. I'm like, who are you? Like, what's wrong with you? We're adults. But there was
Exactly.
something magical that happened when you put those crayons in
Yeah.
the hands of, adults that just take themselves so seriously. And
Yeah.
we would prompt that with some sort of really unique activity, like drawing yourself as your favorite superhero, or,
Right.
what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? Now draw that, right? We'd have these
Right.
creative exercises. And it was amazing because they'd do that, they'd put them away, and then everybody would ripple, and then they'd come back to their little ponds and they would kind of do what we call adult swim, which was kind of the sharing. Okay, show and tell.
Mhm.
Here's what I drew. Here's why I drew it. And it was really funny. Some people are really insecure about drawing or whatever. Everybody just kind of got over that, right?
Mhm.
And the conversations and the sharing that occurred because of it was so amazing.
Yeah.
Kathleen Evans, who I know follows this show with regularity, she envisioned herself being on a beach in Costa Rica,
Oh,
many years
wow.
ago when we did the Ripple. She put that thing on her desk or on her refrigerator
Yeah.
and looked at it every single morning. And guess what? Her and her husband live in Costa Rica, living the
That's
life that they always wanted to live.
that's
And
great.
she sees that same picture every single day because she remembers that crazy activity. So, no
Yep.
doubt your friend who has taken them on this little sandbox excursion is going to have that same, positive
Exactly.
impact. I mean, talk about the ultimate ripple effect, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. I know
Yeah.
that is, I mean, you have to tap into that creativity. I think each and every one of us, we've got that childlike innocence about us, and to tap into that, I mean, it can take you really, really far in everything that you do, and especially in business too. I
Yeah. I
think
mean,
that's, yeah.
as you point out regularly, I mean, some of us just never grew up. I mean,
And
I mean,
that's okay.
I vacillate between the ages of 6 and 16.
Oh
Let's
gosh, I like you better when you're like below 10. So
yeah, yeah. I'm
those
a
teenage years, no
probably a
thank
little
you.
less vulgar and no, I don't give you any attitude when I'm not in my teens.
There you go.
Well, so today we're talking about, the topic for today's conversation was about dance partners.
Hmm.
And the reason that this came up is I have someone that had approached me and said, I'd really like your all's take on, you know, uh, as an entrepreneur, whether it makes
Hmm.
sense to have someone as a dance partner, right? A co-founder,
Hmm.
or how to engage and involve somebody in a business that you want to build pretty early on. And, what are the pitfalls? What are the worries?
Yeah.
And, why would I need something like that? And, you and I've talked
Yeah.
about this a lot. There's that compatible energy. There's those
Hmm.
there's complementary skill sets. There's the, things that you at your heart of hearts that you're really good at, and there are things that you aren't that could
Yeah.
potentially work against a business, especially in startup mode, but as you're scaling as well. That really a co-founder or a dance partner within the business arena,
Hmm.
if you find the right one, they can do those things. They can do the things that you're not good at, and you can do the
Right.
things that they're not good at. So when you hear that word dance partner as it relates to business, what do you what first comes to mind for you in that?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is picking somebody that's the kind of the opposite of who I am.
Yeah,
And and what that means, I mean, if you think kind of that mirror image, because that's exactly what dance partners are. You've got your mirror image that
yeah,
you're dancing with, which is not always comfortable and not always fun,
yeah.
but it's necessary because, and I think that sometimes people where businesses will not really flourish or not succeed is that they try to pick somebody that's just like them. And and yeah, although
Big
that's really
mistake.
great,
Big
you
big mistake.
agree on everything, but, that's not really gonna move the needle at all. That's not gonna get you going forward. You've got to get, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind is my opposite.
Yeah,
Really, and really looking at that, because there is some beauty in having your opposite, because like just like you said, Steve, you've got strengths, they've got strengths. More than likely, your opposite, their strengths are going to be your weaknesses and vice versa. And there
sure.
is something beautiful about bringing that together and being able to find that middle ground to work together.
Well, and the thing I think, and you said it well, is finding that compatible opposite, right? That
Yeah,
is that person that is to a certain degree a mirror image of who you are, committed to the
yeah,
cause, focused, dedicated.
yeah.
But I think even before you start like branching out to find out who that person is, whether you're in the ideation stage and you're ready to maybe put some meat on the bone in terms of your idea
Mhm.
where it's going to go, or if you are just getting going and you realize, hey, look, before this thing really starts to get traction, I probably need to bring in somebody. I
Yeah,
think one of the key things that is important is to really do a honest self-evaluation of who you are,
yeah,
right? As an
yeah.
individual, what are the things that you want to do? What are the things that you're good at? What are your complementary energies that you bring to that
Mhm.
to the table for that potential partnership? And then what are the things that you are not so good at? And you've got to be honest there, because
Exactly.
I think as entrepreneurs, we want to assume we're good at everything, but I
Yeah,
hate accounting. I hate
yeah.
financial, elements
Uh,
of every
yes,
nature. Mainly, it stems from being a kid and hating math in the first place. But I am so grateful that I have help in making sure payroll gets done and that taxes
exactly.
get paid, because I know for a fact it would just be an absolute freaking train wreck if I didn't. But those are the types of things that you've got to get open and honest with to
Yeah,
make sure that you have those, down, and that you actually don't hide those during the sort of the vetting or maybe the
yes,
courting process.
yes.
The dance partner needs to know what they're getting into and what you're looking for them to do. And that requires a really open, honest, and conversation in
Yeah.
those early stages before you guys agree to do business together.
I 100%, 110% agree, Steve. I mean, because it is true. It's like you've got to be honest with yourself. What and it's okay. Here's the thing: as an entrepreneur, it's okay that you don't know how to do everything, or that
Yep.
you know a little bit about it, but you don't like to do it. Okay, I mean, there are people out there that love accounting. For example, I'm with you on that, Steve. Like accounting,
God
forget
love you
about it.
people. I mean,
Like, seriously, I am so grateful for my accountants, like, seriously, because no, I would probably have the tax office at my door every day if I didn't have those people in my in my corner, but I mean, you have to be honest about it, and you have to really oh my goodness. We have an accountant
yeah,
on there? No,
she just
no,
loves doing it. Yeah, Cynthia, thanks for joining us. But yeah,
I
it's maybe fun for you. I'm
You
just
know
saying.
what? That should actually, Cynthia, that should be our new mantra, our new affirmation, Steve.
What's that?
Accounting is fun. Accounting is fun. Yeah, no, I love accounting. No,
For your
it's
dance
not
partner,
fun.
I think that's a perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Does this statement resonate with you? And if so,
Exactly. Just hold up a bunch of cue
you
cards.
might be who I've been looking for.
Exactly. That's a great idea. That's a good
It's like that
interview
Jerry
topic.
Maguire. You complete me. Now,
Exactly.
could you pay me? Could you make sure
That's a good
I
one.
don't know how this cash thing works. Do I get money out of
Exactly.
the company or do I just have to keep pouring money into the company?
Oh my.
But yeah, I mean, I think you hit on that perfectly. I mean, it's so critical and so important. And so, it's really interesting. So I'm listening to an audiobook right now by Reid
Hmm.
Hoffman called Masters of Scale. And
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of his podcast, and all he did was put all those podcasts into book form on Audible.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of things that I've heard on his podcast before, but really, this time around, it's making me kind of think. And he was talking to one of the organizations that was kind of sort of in those early stages, and they were applying for Y Combinator. And Y Combinator is this sort of it's kind of an acceleration, what do you call those things? They have those over there with you when they bring entrepreneurs together. I can't think of the term for some reason. I had
What
lots of
is
coffee today, but start like a kind of a startup commune or whatever you call it.
a
Not a
startup
commune.
commune?
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
You talking about?
where you're basically vetting your idea and you're getting guided and directed by,
Yes,
genius
I
venture capitalists or whatever.
yes.
Anyway, I'm and we wonder why Combinator doesn't call me for, to come speak to them. Anyway, Y Combinator says, "Hey, we require a co-founder." And so they were talking about one of the
Oh,
entrepreneurs who I won't say by name, but you just got to get the book or listen to Reid Hoffman's podcast. But he said he was really confused because he really kind of created this business to sort of
mhm,
be independent, something he could do on his own,
mhm,
and but it had huge potential, and there was a lot of opportunity for it to scale. And
Yeah.
obviously, as you scale, you're going to need to bring in the team and you're going to need to
Yep.
grow. And so he was assuming that he would augment those energies with the employees that he was going to bring into, into the, the company.
Right.
And they're like, no, no, no. You need a co-founder.
Yeah.
You need a dance partner in this. And there will inevitably be things that you are not good at. And there are blind spots that
Mhm.
you may or may not be seeing at this juncture. And you absolutely have to have somebody there that has an equal say about where the business goes. And this
Exactly.
like kind of blew this guy away because he's like, but it's my idea and it's my, my
Right.
thing. I thought of it. And now you're proposing I give away half or a sizable chunk of my equity to
Yeah.
somebody who, didn't come up with this great idea. And they're like, yep, but that's the only way you're going to scale and grow. Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because I do think that I've seen a lot of businesses personally through professional coaching, a lot of organizations that didn't have that end up flaming out.
Mhm.
And then I've seen some that didn't put quite the effort and energy into vetting whether they can work
Yeah.
together as dance partners, if they can really be in sync, if they can dance to the same tune and make sure that if you're hip hop and I'm classical, we could have
Oh,
a problem.
yeah.
But understanding that energy that goes into it. But I just found it interesting that they said, yeah, we won't invest if you're not, if you don't have a co-founder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. Yeah. But you know what? It is true, Steve. One of the things that happens too is that a lot of times people will not even entertain getting a business dance partner because of the fact their ego is so stuck on, I've created this is my idea, that, they really latch onto that. And there's nothing wrong with sharing the limelight, so to speak. I mean, it's like strength in numbers, right? It's like
Yep.
really to have that partner in it really can make you just that much stronger, and your reach is so much further. But we have to get out of our own way sometimes in order to be able to see that.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
do think that, the reason that this question got put forward was, is this something that I really do need to be entertaining? And I think the reason
Mhm.
it came up for this individual, and I know what they're looking at, and I didn't actually tell them we would be doing this as an episode, but I did invite
Right.
them, so I know they're watching. But
Okay.
I don't want to throw their business out there for consumption,
Mhm.
necessarily, but I do know that I can see that business operation and where the potential is and where it can go, and I can
Yeah.
recognize the fact that there are elements that he's going to definitely need help and that support.
Right.
And it's a crazy situation because when you go into business partnership with anybody, it's like worse than a marriage, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the
It is.
day, there are a lot of things. In fact, I was having lunch with somebody yesterday that was kind of picking my brain on business partnerships and an
Mhm.
opportunity and offer that got put forward that, looks like the new shiny thing for the business, right? It's
Yeah.
it's easy to be, kind of mesmerized by the allure of, oh my gosh, these guys can bring in
Exactly.
capital, they could
Yeah.
change everything I've been doing. And so everything we're talking about here is like you got to find a dance partner. But I was like, whoa, 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 hold on, buddy. You got to look at this
Yeah.
from a different lens and a different perspective. And is this the right dance partner? And is this
Exactly.
the right organization to bring into what you've been putting so much time, energy, and effort into?
Yeah.
And there is the propensity for it to go forward and continue on and grow, maybe at a
Mhm.
slower pace with him at the helm. But at the end of the day, he would, these guys are coming in and automatically sort of demanding a large chunk of the business.
Right.
And that to me was kind of an alarmist situation. And it's a different operation because he's not in startup mode. He's in growth
Right.
mode as an individual. But somebody that comes in that has, lofty ambitions, but they haven't put on the table what they're really bringing to the table other than we potentially have a lot of cash we could throw at
Right.
this. Well, cash is one thing, but you burn through cash
Yeah.
quick, right? Cash goes
Yes.
away almost as quickly as anybody puts it in. And then the skill sets that I think are super critical are,
Mhm.
okay, what are their dance shoes, right?
Exactly.
What are they bringing to the floor? Because at the end of the day, if it's just cash, then it's not a really good fair trade because you're going to need
No.
effort, you're going to need expertise, you're going to need a skill set. So, what is your
Exactly.
experience in that?
I mean, you know what, Steve? I think one of the things that, when we were talking about, like, what do we think of with a dance partner? It's like the exact opposite. However, there are going to be certain values and certain work ethics that are going to have to match. Like they may be the
Yeah.
exact opposite of you and their strengths may be completely opposite. But I think that in absolutely a lot of people think about taking somebody on as a partner or a co-founder only whenever they need cash. Cash is such, I mean, yes, it's an important part of a business, but my goodness, it is not everything at all. I mean, there are so many more things, and you've got to be able to interview somebody and really see, first of all, do our values align with one another? Do we stand for the same things? We may have different ways of doing it,
Yeah.
but do we, at the core of everything, do we stand for the same things? And then be able to evaluate to see, okay, if they're just talking about cash, I'm just bringing cash to the table, then you already know that they're going to probably think that they're just going to be putting gasoline on the fire and then you have to do all the work kind of thing. You know what I mean? I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's it's really something that I think you have to look at that as well. What are the similarities of your
Yeah.
values, and then what is each other, bringing to the table?
Absolutely. If you happen to just
Yeah.
be joining us either through any of the streaming platforms that we're going out to, or you catch this on the replay on one of the podcast platforms, we're talking about finding your business dance partner,
Mhm.
things to look out for, things to embrace, things to, sort of, understand what you're getting into. And we were just talking
Mhm.
about, partners that are potential dance partners that are bringing cash.
Yeah.
My experience has always been, I hate asking anybody for money. It's just
Yeah.
an inherent thing. I used to
Yeah.
hate having to go to my dad when I didn't have a job. I'm like, hey, I got a date. Like, can I get like, $5, $10 so I go to the movie?
Where
And
were you taking them on a date for 5 or $10, Steve?
and this was back in the
Oh,
dark
okay.
ages. I still
Sorry.
was driving a Brontosaurus, literally, right? So, you're paying 50 cents a gallon, and you could go to the dollar movie. It was great.
I'm like, "What?"
You go to
Okay.
Walgreens and get like 2-for-1 candies and then make the date put their stuff in their purse and you were
Oh my
golden for your
god.
snacks. So worked out, sneak it in, right? But
Alright,
yeah,
alright.
but I always have inherently not like that. I like to,
Right.
I like to be in control of the money. I like to be in not the accounting side, Cynthia. I hate that, but I like, being able to contribute. What I have
Right.
seen is so many partnerships, how the balance gets out of whack when somebody brings in
Yes.
the cash and
Yes.
you're the partner with the idea, the sweat equity, and I've been in these situations, but there is a weird power dynamic that money brings to the
Yeah.
table that I think is super interesting, super worth, having that conversation because
Right.
it's not equal.
No.
No matter what anybody thinks, I had a good friend that told me one time cash is king and it
Mhm.
rules everything. And when
Mhm.
the dance partnership starts, and that person that's coming in, Mrs. or Mr. Moneybucks, is bringing the dollars, and they
Yeah.
just plop it on the table, and we're like, all right, like you said, we're
Yep.
adding, kerosene to the flame. Good luck.
Exactly.
It's an upset, it's an upset in the equation, right?
Yep.
There's a balance, I think, ultimately that you have to really be clear about.
Yeah, you do. I mean, money's an interesting thing because, we all come with our own baggage, our own things that we grew up with, of our belief systems around money and everything. And just remember, I mean, even as we get older, we carry those things. If we don't address those things early on or become, aware of that, we carry that on into all relationships and everything. So it's really is something about a power struggle can definitely happen. And I'm with you on that, Steve. It's like, if somebody is just talking about that, they probably are just not fit for
Yeah.
my business. I know that from the get-go. The minute they start just, wanting to kind of invest money and do this and do, no, you know what? Let's talk real business about, what are we doing here? What do we stand for? And what's really, really important. Because I think that power struggle, if you don't address that from the beginning, it could get really ugly. And I've seen that happen.
It can and it will. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
actually been in that situation myself, and it's
Oh
quickly
wow.
how it's
Yeah.
amazing how quickly it goes downhill from there,
Yeah.
right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it can be really, really a big struggle and a challenge. So,
Right.
I think at the end of the day, like we were talking about, you really have to get good at understanding where you are, what you bring to the table, and then
Mhm.
have and create your wish list of what you're looking for in that dance
Exactly.
partner, right? So,
Yep.
kind of a funny, non sort of, but kind of business related, like
Yeah.
how in the world did we ever pick one another as dance partners to do this show? Like, you know,
Yeah,
clearly there was something there that we had a mutual, you know, we knew we brought something mutually valuable to the table. So, what in your mind, how did this all evolve? I mean,
I mean,
we're not growing $1 million enterprises here, but at the end of the day, this is a dance, right? At the end of the day,
exactly.
it's what we do every week.
No, exactly. And you know what, Steve? I think for us, it definitely, I mean, when we met, eons ago, it was eons. It was really like we clicked on what I was saying before. Like we had certain values. Like we're totally two different people, completely different people in so many ways. It's really funny because a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you guys are so much alike." I'm like, "Oh no, we're actually not." Like we're so opposite. It's really it may not show, but we
And
are.
how insulted do you feel like when people say that to you? Like, oh my God, if you knew him, like, how
No,
does that guy put pants on in the morning? I don't understand how that he even, it's got to be a pop up guide of some sort. That poor
no,
guy. What a
no,
train wreck.
no, not at all. No, but I
It's
think
okay. I understand. I acknowledge. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses.
I mean,
But
I'm not as adventurous as you, like breaking bones and all that other stuff or whatever. Like,
I know you
I'm
love
just
the
not.
tech. You love the tech.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's a, yes, another thing.
Darth Vader just kicked on again.
I was just gonna say,
The
what
force is strong with this one, is what Darth
you
Vader
know
just
what
said.
he comes on every show that we have.
I know.
That's
I need to
that's
unplug him, but I kind of feel bad if I do.
it's interesting that he joins us every
Take
time.
all
So
his take all his power. But literally, as you were saying it, the force is strong with this one, is what
see,
he said. And he's just reminding me that, that's how the dance partner work.
that's how the dance partner works. But I mean,
But
I think
you
it
were
was our
saying, sorry.
commonality, right? Our common values.
Yeah.
And as we got to know each other and as we became friends and we, developed that friendship, then from that, it kind of made sense because I mean, we've been able to witness each other's businesses
Yeah.
and learn from each other and see a lot of things. We know what your strengths are, we know what my strengths are, what weaknesses are, and we just I don't know, it just fit in that way to be able to do that. I mean, that's the way I kind of see it. It
Well,
just made
I
sense.
looked at it differently as a chiropractor and an introvert walk into a bar.
Oh geez, yeah, no,
And really, at the end of the day, it's like, how the hell did that happen in the first place?
exactly.
But there were so many things. I think you were there for me early on, as I was sort of finding my way, because I had found my
Mhm.
path as an entrepreneur, but I had created a business that was fairly um, people dependent, and I was
Yeah,
finding my new way in with Ripple consulting, coaching. That's a solo activity, right? It was a
right.
solopreneur business in a lot of respects, writing books, speaking, that kind of thing. But you were there kind of supporting me. Never came and said, "Hey, I want a percentage or I want to be a part of
Yeah,
this." But you were really good to say, "Look, what can I do to support you?" And then when you started to look at, "Hey, look, there's other ways that I want to kind of go about. I want to
right.
remake my entire business, and I want to do it in a country that, that I have always longed to live in and be a part of." And you were doing it. I mean, you were taking some risks and gambles, and we had times where we weren't communicating or having
Right.
conversations about ways that we could support one another. But then when we started to come back, and we were both kind of starting to scale in these
Yeah,
new genres that we were in, we were kind of recognized that a lot of the things we were talking about really had some value. And so when I
right.
saw it, and I think you were the one that made the suggestion, hey, what if we just like started recording some of these, and we put it out
Right.
there? Maybe some of the things we're struggling with, or some of the experiences that we're having our wins.
Mhm.
Maybe some of these people could be inspired and motivated by what we're doing as entrepreneurs, and that's
Right.
kind of how the show just really started, right? But
Right.
it's kind of a perfect example. We come to this with equal enthusiasm. It's not a terribly expensive effort, for us to do what we're doing.
Right.
But we've split everything. We've got an understanding of roles, and we sort of define those responsibilities. But it
Right.
really is kind of the perfect chasm of what a good dance partnership is, right?
Definitely.
And so I think,
Definitely.
it's at the end of the day, I think there were things that you were really confident about doing and how to get it done. And I was
Mhm.
maybe less confident, but if I had you as my guide, or sort of, could hold on to
Mhm.
your backside to be able to just keep up, I would have confidence to do it. And I think to a certain degree, there were other things that were like, I have no idea, but I'll take it. And, let
Yeah.
me go learn it and see
Mhm.
what it is. Live streaming is an example. What we're doing right now is
Exactly.
kind of an example of that. But that's where
Yeah.
that complementary energy came together. And I
Yeah.
think for any business dance partnership, any partnership in general,
Mhm.
I think that's a super critical key.
Yeah, I mean, you end up you support the cause of whatever you're doing together, but then you support one another in the ways that need to be supportive. I mean, that is a very, very important. And sometimes it's going to be more on one side than the other, but it's just like any relationship, right?
Yeah.
It really, really is. And what you said before, Steve, that it's harder than even a marriage. Yes, it is. Because
Yep.
I feel like in business or any kind of collaboration, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're honest in your marriage as well,
Yep.
right? Like but there are just some things that you just don't talk about. You don't, but in a business you have to.
Yeah.
Like you just have to.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, it's an even more into a certain element, more intimate relationship than
Yeah.
even you have in your romantic life because the risks are so greater, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, especially if you're building a business and you both thrown in energy and effort and there's cash on the table to grow it, and now we're adding teams and people
Yeah.
depend on you to show up and do your best job because they depend on you for a paycheck.
Mhm.
The pressure is there. I think, it's interesting to look at that from a perspective of, you got to make sure when, because not everything will go well, especially in startup
Exactly.
mode. You're
Sure.
going to hit roadblock after roadblock after
Yep.
roadblock. How are people going to show up when things don't go well?
Yes.
And, have you had enough opportunity to vet your dance partner to see how they respond and react? Like, what happens if we aren't able to make payroll next Friday and we both got to come
Exactly.
up with enough cash personally to put
Yep.
into the business? When is it appropriate for us to start taking vacations or days off or time?
Yep.
When do we actually get paid back for the capital that we put in, and what are those expectations? And those are all things that I think are important to get on the table early
Mhm.
because you want to be able to have that understanding from day one what that is so
Mhm.
that you can really then complementary come back together and start working on the actual
Yep.
business itself, not be tripped up by the things that tend to to get you and have got you on a lot of partnerships,
Yep.
right?
No,
So
that is true. Being upfront and honest about that and getting those hard conversations over in the beginning, like getting them out in the open, and I think that's really important.
yeah,
Really,
and
really
one
important.
piece of advice I would give, and the gentleman that raised this,
Mhm.
I shared this with him, is that, not only going through that, that mental checklist on your own,
Mhm.
understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses, but legitimately sitting down and saying, okay, I need you to do the same. And then we need to
Yes,
come together and have a adult conversation about what these challenges are. And,
exactly.
is there anything on this list that's an absolute deal breaker? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I want you to think about divorce is imminent, right? The music stops,
Yes.
we're getting off the dance floor and we're now potentially pissed off at one another because,
Yeah.
you were prepared for hip hop and I was prepared for classical, which I am not, I promise you.
Which is
But
really funny that I'm for hip hop and you're for classical. Okay. Yeah. I'm just kidding, Steve. Yes, go ahead.
okay, you're hip hop, I'm Springsteen. How about that?
There
Totally
you go.
just different dynamic. But at the end of the day, you have to actually put yourself in those situations like
Yeah.
how are we going to respond and react to those things? And then have that conversation about how we do it and then line those things out in your separation agreements. I can't
Yes.
begin to tell you that how
Yes.
important it is when you incorporate the business, create the partnership agreement, what happens when things don't go well, and how
Yep.
we can accommodate those situations. And if one partner feels like, hey, look, I am carrying more of the weight or I'm doing more, I need to go find another dance partner. How do we,
Yep.
respectfully and honestly separate the sheets, so to speak, and go
Mhm.
find other dance floors to dance on, right? With other dance
Yeah.
partners. I think
That's
that's super,
huge.
super critical.
Yeah, that's really, really important. I mean, you can save yourself a lot of heartache and hardships, and also not only for the two of you, but for all your employees, your customers. I
Yes.
mean, it really goes throughout your entire organization. You're going to save yourself a lot of that uneasiness down the road.
And actually, I think, and you and I've talked about this because communication is a big factor in this, right?
Mhm.
In fact, our coin phrase for the show is communication matters. We never
Yeah.
say that as
I know
often
it's
as we
true.
should, but communication matters.
Yeah.
How comfortable you are having that conversation yourself tells you a lot about how you'll respond and react if things don't go well, but
Yeah.
ultimately how freely the other dance partner speaks to you about how they believe they'll
Yeah.
respond and react, or how you should respond and react in their opinion when those situations come up. And if you have anxiety on any level, or you feel
Mhm.
tension, you need
Yeah.
to pump the brakes on whether that's a good potential relationship,
Yeah,
right?
that's
A
so
good
true.
potential dance partnership, because you inevitably have to acknowledge that so that you can get those
Mhm.
feelings out there. And you need to say, look, this gives me a lot of anxiety because, you and I were friends. I don't want to hurt that friendship. I don't want
Right.
to cause any conflict, but the potential for conflict is high when you go into this relationship. And if the music stops and you're not comfortable saying, hey, look, Asha, this is what's going to happen,
Exactly.
you're going to have to pack your bags and you're going to have to go, or you're gonna have to buy me out, or
Right.
I'm gonna I'm gonna have to respond or react this way. Having that conversation early is not only a good testament to setting yourself up for success
Mhm.
for that partnership, but at the end of the day, it's also a really good litmus test about how you're going to respond and react if things don't go well. And
It's
if you
true.
can't do it now when there isn't that tension and that frustration, oh my
Yep.
God, you're going to crater when it
Yep.
goes bad.
Exactly. That's very true. That is very, very true.
It's like the old Lost in Space robot that used to say, danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Exactly. Exactly.
Be
That'll be
prepared. You're
what was
about to
going
run
off.
off the edge of the cliff.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. We have been proof positive that you can find, your perfect dance partner. You can find
Yeah.
somebody who really has the same level of commitment, wants to see something be successful, whether you're starting a podcast episode or show together, or you're starting a business. You want to find the right people that really, that inspire you and motivate you and want you to be
Mhm.
want to see you be the best person you are and can be. And you want the same for them. And so I think, this is a
Exactly.
really interesting topic, and I'm glad we talked about
Yeah, no, Steve, I agree. I mean, it's one of those things I'm
it.
very grateful that client of yours brought this up, because I think
Yeah.
it's a really important thing to address no matter where you are in your business, that it's never too early or too late to think about, partnering with that business partner, with that business dance partner, and really evaluating exactly what's important to look for ahead of time.
Yep.
So I'm glad that we talked about this today.
And if it's any, consolation to anybody out there listening or watching, right? It's clear that you can generally find, and, you just have to have infinite patience like Asha does with me.
No.
But
It goes both ways.
yeah,
Trust
nah.
me.
You can make it work. I promise you. You can almost always make it work, but you got to be mature and
Yeah,
be forthright from the very jump, right? It'll
that's
it'll
true.
save you a lot of heartache and pain later for sure. So
Yeah, that's true.
so Asha, as we wind down this episode, we want
Mhm,
to thank all of our listeners and those that have been on the live stream today. Those that will catch this on the replay or will pick
mhm,
us up on one of the podcast platforms here in a few hours. But how do people get in touch with us? How do they become involved
mhm.
with conversations with Asha and Steve? Maybe tell us what they're thinking, what they took from our episodes, or
Yeah.
maybe suggest some topics they'd like us to cover in the new year.
Yeah, so they can definitely go to our website, conversationswithashaandsteve.com, or find us on Facebook. We have a group in there as well. People can connect with us there. If they want to put comments, like if they are catching the replay of this and they have topics, they can also do that there as well. But reach out to us in any of those ways.
Yeah, if anybody wants to put a comment like, how, Dr. Asha, could you possibly put up with Steve as your dance partner? He clearly has no rhythm. How did you
Okay.
do it? Feel free. It's fine. Will not offend me in any way, shape, or form. I ask that question on a daily basis myself, so it's okay. But no, we encourage you to get involved. And Asha, how
Mhm.
do folks get learn about your work and how to
Yeah.
get in touch with you? Because all your social platforms are on your website, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So drashaprasad.com, and yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. You just put in Dr. Asha, and I mean, Google will help you beat a path to her multiple doors. She's got so many out there. She is just crushing it in the world. You definitely need to look at her website. You need to learn about her books. You need to learn about all the great work she's doing. Sign up for her Monday motivations because I mean,
Mhm.
those things are fantastic. You do a great job
Thanks, Steve.
on putting those out on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I know that they have really helped me set my priorities for the upcoming week. If you're interested in learning about my work, or you want to talk to me offline about how bad I am as a dance partner for Dr. Asha, I'm
No.
happy to share that too. But you can go to ripplecentral.com. All my social channels are on there as well, and you can learn a little bit about the ripple effect. Asha, this has been a really fun episode. I really
Yes, it
appreciate
has.
your willingness to have that conversation and not throw me under the bus as being a bad dance partner for you. So thank you so much for that.
You're a great dance partner, Steve.
Thanks. Obviously, what was the band that you were into the other day that we needed to talk about? That
Puddle of Mud, I think is
Puddle of
who
Mud.
we're
Just because it was you, I that same day I went and it was like whatever we were recording, whatever day it was,
Yeah.
but like 3:30, I had my, I got my Apple HomePod that's
Yeah.
like this speaker that's this big. I just started playing Puddle of Mud,
That's hilarious.
in your honor because that's how much affection I have for my
Yes.
dance partner. What's your music today then?
Today, you know what? I don't have this is strange. I don't have any music today. Isn't that weird?
Wow.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
no, actually, wait a second. I do take that back. I was listening to Nick Acosta. Do you know who she is? Nick Acosta? I was listening to her. Wait, no, you're like, who the heck is that? Like, yeah. So
Is she
anyway,
like Adele or Taylor Swift or
no, she's more funky. Like
oh
she's yeah.
yeah, you have to send me a link.
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
I was listening to Metallica playing with a symphony orchestra this morning.
Oh wow.
I
See,
think
there's
it's
your
the
classical
Philharmonic,
music.
but I'm not sure. I don't want to say it, but it's their new album, and it's actually super good.
Wow, I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
That's really
I
great.
obviously had it on so loud that the guy downstairs in our office building came up and like, hey, it's like 6:30 in the morning, and you're playing this music like super loud. I'm like, am I? I did not know.
You know what's funny, Steve, about Metallica? It was years ago. I believe it was Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne in concert.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When they did
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
In fact, I think you tried to talk me into going to that when it was like here
probably.
in Texas, right? Yeah.
Yep. I was.
I should have. I should have. God, I want to go see those guys. They're so awesome. And
Yeah.
Ozzy's 194, so
Hey,
yeah, he still rocks it.
he
Still rocks
still
it.
rocks.
All right. Well, we'll let everybody go. We really appreciate you joining us for today's live stream. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe. Be good to one another. And Asha, take care.
Thank you. Till next time, Steve.
All right. Till next time. See ya. And we are